Hello, hello. Welcome to the Lions Den. I'm your host, Lauren Lyons, and I'm back with another recap on Reasonable Doubt Season 3. Yes, y'all, it's been a minute. I know. My birthday just came up. So, we had to take a moment to celebrate. You can still tell me happy birthday in the comments if you like. But we've had a lot going on, but we definitely had to come on and continue to recap this series. There's a lot to get into. But first, as you guys know, we got to go over the House Den rules. This is scripted TV, so we not going to be talking about nobody business or drama or whatever. So, we keep it pretty light. We are going to get into some heavy things because there is a lot going on with this series. Whew, and a lot to get into. But of course, here at the Lion's Den, grab your favorite drink, whether it's water or your favorite cocktail, and grab it because we about to get into some things. Today, as you can see, I'm very wicked out. I got the nails, got the lips, got the shirt for my birthday, and the cup, Glinda. And yes, we also have Elphaba as well. We are wicked, wicked, wicked out today. Love it, love it, love it. So I just had to kind of throw that in there. All right. Before we get started, let me just test the audio real quick because we have had too many audio issues going on. We should be getting our mic very soon. Very, 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 very soon. Perfect. Okay. Sounds like we're good to go. So let's get into it, guys. Let's get into this episode. So we kick off where the trial has started and they have gathered different witnesses on the stands, um, investigators around Ozzy, and what pretty much led the prosecution to want to file charges against Ozzy and why they think he is guilty. Now, in this part, though, Jax was whacking them left and right. I mean, she was getting it because, to be very honest with you, the prosecution really doesn't have that strong of evidence, or they're not doing a good job in making sure the case was built. I think they did rush because as we know, the lawyer, he does want to run for office. So I think he kind of jumped the gun a little bit and didn't really take his time to build their case. Because one of the things about the case was that um Ozzy, yes, it was his gun and it was at a cabin, but they could never place Ozzy there. They never had that evidence. They didn't even look to see if someone else was around. Or they did Alex, I guess, which we'll talk about later. But they could never prove that it was Ozzy who pulled the trigger. Ozzy's fingerprints were not on the gun, I think, at the time of the murder. So there were a lot of holes in the case that the prosecution did fail to collect and have. So it's not really that tight as you would think that it would be. And so I think they did jump the gun a little bit because she was tearing it down. One of the ladies, she was like, one of the prosecutors, and was she shared her information. So Jax pretty much was trying to see if there was any bias, and there was. She had tweeted something publicly saying that he was rude to her kids. So she was like, okay, well, how do you know it's him? You could just still be mad because if you were that mad to tweet about him, you could have now have bias in making a decision on if he's innocent or guilty. Because people do that with celebrities. They do hold them to a higher standard and sometimes unfair standard, which this show I think does a good job of tackling that how much we alienate and isolate and put people on a pedestal, and it literally drives them mad. So um Jackson's still trying to figure out, how do we find an alibi to see where Ozzy was that night of the murder, because once you get that and you can cover where he was, the case is going to be hers. She just needs something else to really nail that he was innocent. And So they really try to figure out who is the other person that was there, because she knows at this point that they're lying, and he still does not want to give up who was there. So then she her strategy is, well, somehow we have to really paint somebody to be guilty enough to where they think that this person may have been the person that did it instead of you. So they have to redirect somewhere and take the jurors in a different direction to not only point at Ozzy. And remember, they're using Ozzy and him learning that he was essayed as a way to also gain sympathy with the jurors, which is, Jax does understand the danger of that and understands how this could really turn left. But she does try to take pauses and take that into consideration um, before she does it publicly and on the stands. But excuse me, all of his business and stuff is essentially out there for the public, which is really what he doesn't need mentally. But if not, he would be going to jail. We got to be honest. So what we do find out is Alex pops back up. Remember, in back in episode one, Ozzy does call Alex, and Alex says he's pretty much like not going to be his alibi and tell him that he was with him. As we later find out, Alex was a former co-star who pretty much got caught up in the lifestyle, lost all his money, and now kind of is his plug. So he, as we see throughout the scenes of the show, Ozzy's sister is being contacted by Fno is what she has him named as. And um what's his name? Yeah, I just had the man name. Daniel? I think it's Daniel. Daniel. Daniel real sees that like someone is contacting her. And that's one thing about Daniel, like I do like actually to see, because I do think that like you are curious to see, okay, Daniel, like are you are do you have a weakness? Because he's been one of the key things in Jackson's cases, to be honest, because he's her PI, and he really can detect when someone's lying. He has a good instinct. So this is where you're kind of like, all right, Daniel, because you like this girl, are you kind of losing your instinct? Like, what's going on? But he's very observant and he's clocking everything. He has a good instinct and he trusts his gut at the end of the day. And I love that because I was getting really worried. But so he asked her, hey, who is that? Like, I don't want to be that person, but like, what's going on? Because it just seems like they're kind of harassing you, whatever. The sister then takes it upon herself to distract Daniel by kissing him. And see, I already clocked her last episode and I'm clocking her again. Something ain't right with the sister. And I'm like, did they raise narcissistic children? Like, because she's manipulative. She is so manipulative. Because why are you like, girl, you think that you liking him and flirting with him is going to distract Daniel, and you really, the episode really makes you feel that it's kind of working. But I'm like, can we be more obvious? Every time you caught in a lie, you want to just throw yourself at him to distract him. That's concerning, and I would be looking side eye. So, um, so yeah, I just feel like we get that. I don't trust her. It's something about her. She's not completely honest. She's playing games. So I hope Daniel realizes that long term, this may not be it because she's too quick to lie. This is what the second lie she's told. Mm-mm, hang it up, flat screen. So Daniel does ask, like, okay, well, were you at home? Were you watching something? He was like, okay, yeah, maybe I did. So they can pull his streaming records, and if it shows that like he was streaming, that's at least something that could potentially say that he was placed at home. But at the end of the day, like just because you have streaming on doesn't mean that like you're actually physically home. So, but it's just to try to help establish some level of alibi because he has no idea. He was high on that night. and the person who can cooperate, or not cooperate, Jesus, who can collaborate, does not want to be involved. And so they're back to square one. Well, Jax does also take this opportunity to let Ozzy know that she knows about Monica. And he was like, "How do you know?" Of course, he's triggered and defensive, and he's like, "How do you know about her? How does information go out?" And so she was just like, "I have my suspicion." She just pretty much, to me, she covers it up really well because she did do some sleuthing. Ooh, honey, be careful. Sleuthing to find out that it was Monica. But we do get in this episode explore how uh manipulative this behavior is, and disturbing on how it has really impacted Ozzy. Um, and again, like, I think it's such a good, or it's such a fresh take, because we often don't see it from a male's perspective and how it may happen to men, but also how differently it could look, right? And how being taken advantage of has many forms. So it's I think very eye-opening, and I love how they're telling it from this perspective as well, and what happens in the entertainment industry. So he doesn't want to tell, he doesn't want to talk about it. He Jax does want to put her on the stand. He's not really quite sure because he's Stockholm syndrome, right? Like, that's his someone he's been abused by. So he does feel this guilt and feel this un like this loyalty even though he shouldn't. And but she knows that she has to do something in order to help his case in the end. So, for right now, she respects his wishes and she doesn't go back and she doesn't tell his parents or anything. But of course, we'll see about that. So, like I said earlier, Daniel notices that Kristen is ignoring a call. He keeps blowing up her phone. She lies and about it in order to not talk about it the next day. Um, they go back to court. Jax is managing to disqualify or discredit all of the witnesses that have been on the stands, like I talked about. Um, we also do learn that Jax does confront her mom about Eddie and him, and that um why am I'm forget Lewis, thank you. I be forgetting their names, child. Bear with me. Lewis does admit that he did go and confront the dad, but it does sound like that Lewis didn't tell the full truth of what was really said in that situation. But Jack says her mom, like, "Hey, don't tell my business." Um, and pretty much like this is where you see where Jax gets her like firecracker. If I'm backed in a corner, I know how to crawl my way out behavior, because her mom absolutely flipped this entire situation back on Jazz, because it's like, "Mama, listen, no, that man is not owed to have this, know about this family drama and know everything that's going on. He just got here. Let him show who he is first, instead of learning about family business that he quite frankly doesn't have any real responsibility or say over." And so no, it shouldn't be told. She shouldn't be telling it. He's not old. They're not there yet. And it just kind of goes back to Mama Lou knowing her weaknesses and knowing that she's just honestly male centered. And it just constantly goes back to that. Cause it's like, come on now. He left, he abandoned your family. You should not be just so willy-nilly to let him back in your lives and to be sharing all that drama. But somehow she flips it back on Jax, and I'm strong arms, I'm your mama. You're not gonna blame me for and make me the punching bag for the dirt that you did, which was not the point. The point was just, hey, don't tell my business to this stranger because I don't know him. But yet she shuts it down. So it was just kind of interesting to see how kind of like a little bit where Jax gets it from, but also, moms who are always right no matter what. Because let's just be real, that's what that is. But she also does reveal that like there was more in that conversation and it wasn't all just out of concern, which I mean it was, but like in a innocent way that Lewis portrayed it to be. But we never really see that pick up anymore in the episode. Like she doesn't go back and address Lewis about it, but um I guess I mean I wouldn't be mad personally because but hey, so we do see where Lewis goes and feels like he has to be super protective of Jax, and I think that's kind of a little bit of what their dynamic kind of used to be when they first started being married, where he feels like he has to kind of like she's a damsel in a sense. But I don't think there's anything wrong with him feeling like he needs to protect her and her family because they've been through so much already that I don't blame him for being concerned. I don't blame him for pause because Jack should too. You know, this man came out the blue. He's not respecting your boundaries. He knows all your family business. He's bribed your kids. Yeah, like I would have be hesitant as well. So I completely understand that. Like I think he is right in taking it slow, but at the end of the day, she has to go through her process. And if it results in her getting hurt, then so be it. And I think Lewis has to kind of understand that and trust that she is able to like you can't protect her from everything and she's able to make those decisions on her own. But he enlists in Daniel's help, who we know Daniel is a PI that works with Jax, who also has feelings for Oz's sister. He goes to him for help because he wants to track and keep an eye on Eddie and see what he's got going on. So Daniel steps in and helps him, and Lewis is tailing him throughout the episode, where we learn that the person that is his sponsor is clearly maybe not because he's carrying around a gun, but we'll get to that when we get there. But he's pretty much telling him the whole episode. So after this is going on, there's a not we get back to Ozzy's family and Kristen, and someone is knocking at her door. And when they open the door, we find out it is Alex. Alex, the one who did not want to be on the stand to testify for Ozzy, comes to the house pretty much trying to bribe and do extortion from the family about the night of the murder. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't give me more money, I'm going to go to the prosecution and I'm going to testify against him. And that pretty much like sent him to jail. Sister doesn't really budge because sister says, give us some time to figure it out. We're just trying to get him out of jail. Um, Alex says is plays like he's okay with it, but you could just tell that like Alex is the crash out. Like Alex, if I can just say it in the most like lamest terms, like Alex is just a person who has nothing going for him, unfortunately, who quite frankly, you would think has a little bit more like power because she really wasn't like as scared because he was like hit with his threat. So you could just tell like he's just not like he's just a bad influence and he's just never been able to fully recover, never been able to make a life for himself, and he absolutely is another user of Ozzy, and of course one that kept him on drugs as well. So you're starting to see that Ozzy is surrounded by users, and it's really sad because it's kind of like, dang, what hope does Ozzy really truly have? Because everyone that's supposed to be in his corner does not, because your friend is literally about to go to jail, someone you know who has helped you out, and you would rather extort the family and send him to jail, which you're not gonna get money, by the way. You know, that's what don't really even make sense. You're not gonna get money. You're not gonna get paid. He in jail. So do that make sense? But it goes to show you how much people use you and really don't care about you at all. Because I mean, the best thing he honestly could do is wait for the money, or at least try a little harder. But he went straight to the prosecution, was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be on the stand and I'm gonna testify against him. So the prosecution thinks that this is their star witness because he's the person that can tell you where Ozzy and them went the night of the murder. So they think that they're gonna take it. And as well as we did get Ozzy's ex-girlfriend up there who says that he does have an anger problem, but Jax quickly just shuts it down by pointing out that like he had a restraining order against her, so you violated a court order. Um So is it that he was defending himself? I mean, she's flipping it back on him left and right. I will give her that. Like she's giving it. The neighbor also gives his testimony that he did see the camera where Avi was mad and upset at Wendy in their fights, but there's still, well, on the camera, he does go home. Wendy does leave. Even the assistant, who is played by Cash Doll, she is she said that her and Ozzy's relationship was okay. Sometimes he'd be fine, other times he would completely ignore her. But she was just concerned because there was a fitting for Vanity Fair and Wendy didn't come. So that's what made her alarmed because she knew Wendy would not miss that. And you know, pretty much was the first to sound the alarm and set it up that that Ozzy may have done it because he just wasn't the best boyfriend. But very much Jax quickly was like, okay, well, if you were so much in Wendy's corner and her ally, why are you now taking over her business? And she hasn't even been in the ground. I think at that time wasn't even found yet of taking over her business. So that also made the jurors side eye because it's like, dang, how loyal are you? Because you pretty clearly were using her in order to come up and move on and get an opportunity. Like I don't even think her body was even found by then. I think she was still missing. And the girl was telling people that she's taking over the business. So, which to be fair, a lot of people keep going. The world keeps moving. So it's not really surprising, but it was kind of like, dang girl, you don't even know if she's dead, like alive or not. You could have at least just said, hey, we're pausing for a moment, or I can do this for you until we see what's going on. Like something. But for you to be so, I'm taking over the business now, it's kind of like, okay, well, you were a user as well. So you're no better. So she shut that down fairly quickly. And so all of those witnesses really don't hold aren't as concrete at this moment, which is very good for her. Um, so looking at our notes. Okay, hold on. All right. So that's a day in court. We didn't go through that night where Jax has her night out with the girls, but first her and Autumn connect. Autumn is the therapist who is now also pregnant. And Autumn does bring, also very concerned about Ozzy and is giving her pointers on how to deal with Ozzy because they both recognize that Ozzy has some serious mental health issues that could cause him to really like can be serious. Um, so she's just kind of like giving her pointers, and she also does encourage her in her own way to ask about, her father's back, ask about his addiction, try to understand. And for sure, Autumn is also therapying her, like being a therapist to her, and trying to help her in both ways. Like, yes, this can help you with your case to understand Ozzy, but also so you can heal with your relationship with your father, because we also know that this has impacted Jax in all of her relationships, including her husband, Lewis, to heal those daddy issues that Jax does have. And Sally comes to dinner with her other girlfriend as well. Excuse me. And so Sally sort of comes clean to the girls that like, yeah, pretty much her and her ex-husband are still messing around, but he's kind of leaving her in limbo, pretty much just messing with her feelings just to get back at her because he was just so hurt. And they very much slyly, because they know how Sally can be, tell her like, girl, you need to make a decision because this is only hurting you because you're in an entanglement and this guy can't commit to you. This guy can't, tell you if you're going to stay married or not. And you're the one that's suffering for it because you want your marriage. You want it to work. So why are you allowing him to keep you on standby? And they do it in a very passive way because they know how Sally is. Jax does apologize to her, and Sally does admit that, like, you know what, maybe you are right, and I need to think about moving on. So after that, or Jax does go to her father Eddie's house to ask about his addiction, and it's the first time that they have a connection, and where she tries to understand where he's coming from. And I personally think Eddie is laying it on a little hard. I do, because I do think Eddie has other ulterior motives here. But it still gives her insight on how to handle Ozzy because of the pressures and because of, what happens to someone who's dealing with addiction. It does give her it does give her, sorry y'all. Okay. I get a little paranoid. It does give her some insight on how to handle him. So they sort of get into a good spot where she's fully allowing him to show and prove himself to her. And she's willing to give him a chance. While she's doing that, outside, Lewis pulls up trying to track his car with the help of Daniel. And so you can just see where Lewis is still like kind of battling, like, okay, am I doing too much or am I not doing enough? And almost gets caught. So following day, like I said, Alex goes to the prosecution to make a deal. They think they have it in the bag. Meanwhile, Crystal, who works in the office, they're talking about Daniel's crush, who we know is Ozzy's sister. Crystal does not know this quite yet, but he wants to make a good impression. He wants to take it to the next level with her. So she's encouraging him, not fully understanding or knowing that he's talking about Ozzy's girlfriend or sister, which should be an absolute no. And so we already talked about Nisha and how that was shot down, and how Jax points out that Nisha has something to gain with Wendy's death as well. Uh, we pick up with Lewis again, where he wants to continue to tell Eddie because he's just very concerned. He saw some things that were just alarming to him, like a guy with a gun and him being in a very suspicious place. So Daniel was like, "Okay, you can hire me, but just make sure this is the road that you want to go on, because if Jax finds out, this could violate trust. And this can be a whole thing." But also, everyone's trying to kind of encourage him and them to like stop anticipating for the worst. You just have to take things one day at a time, and then when something happens, it happens. So it's kind of like a reaction before something happens, and that can lead to paranoia, mistrust, the cycle that they have done in the past come back. Um, well, after her brainstorming Jax on what her next move should be, and not knowing and not having an alibi, and finding out that Alex will touch the sand, Jax is fully on board with being like, hey, we have to throw Monica on the, like, we have to railroad her at this point. Like, we have to throw her under the bus because, one, it's wrong, but two, like, we got to start introducing other ideas of people who could potentially have killed Wendy. But also, did she kill Wendy? Because we see that she is actually obsessed with Ozzy in a very disturbing, sick, twisted way. So she confronts her about her behavior of being, a predator. And pretty blankly tells her that she believes that she killed Monica, Wendy, and this is a moment I have to say. This is a moment where I could not help but compare Jax to Annalise. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, and here's why. In this moment, Monica is, or she's, Jackson's confronting her, telling her how she is and about herself and how you're using her and everything. And in this moment, Monica throws it back in her face and goes, well, I'm a user, so are you. Because when it came to doing his NDA, you weren't interested. You were disengaged. But now he's with murder. Oh, you're excited. Now this is your thing. So you only care about dangerous things, and you get a kick out of doing living life on the edge, and you eat it up, almost comparing her urges to Jackson's urges for a thrill, which is not the same thing at all. Like, oh, not even close. But tries to pretty much point the finger back at her in Jax's area that she does need growth in. Like, because we do know from previous seasons that Jax loves and feeds off of drama. She loves things that dysfunction, because it gives her this sense of high and excitement, and she lives for that. And so what she was doing was just pointing back her area that she needs to grow in. And do we think Jax really like gives it to her? Because this lady's literally questioning that, like, what drives Jax to this case and to doing things is inhumane, as well as what she's doing is inhumane. So I'm sorry, but like Annalise, that would have never worked. That would have never worked. That would have never worked. That would have never worked with Annalise. Because one thing about Annalise is she's gonna have the last thing to say. It's no way you would have sat here and been a predator and think that you can make that comparison. Annalise would have read her for Phil so bad that she would have left Monica shaking. And this is where I just had to say, like, Jackson and Annalise are very, very different. I know we should not be compared. I know, no, no, don't come for me, don't come for me. But I just had to, because it was just like, Jax, I know you didn't let Monica get to you like that. Like, I know for a fact that didn't shut you up. Like, what are we comparing? Are you serious? That's such an easy way to come back and say things to her, and you just really sat here and just let her. It is not the same. Oh, see, I'm trying to help him. You are being a predator. Like, so that was crazy to me. I just had to note that and I had to say it. I'm sorry. Like, it is what it is. But, ooh, no, 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 no. And at least left her with her mouth on the floor, left her shaking in shambles, call her out and call her everything else but a child of God. Would have dug deep into the core of who Monica was. And in her face, just in her right in her face. Jackson do that. She folded too much for me. I ain't like it. I'm just gonna be honest. I ain't like it. So afterwards, Chanel from last season, who almost got locked up in prison for her ex-husband, does visit Sally's husband, and she pretty much advocates for her and was just like, "Hey, you need to stop playing with her emotions, because this girl legitimately wants to be back with you, like, and thinks that you all potentially are working towards your marriage, and you are being vindictive right now. And how does that make you better? Like, yes, you're mad because she betrayed you, but like, one, I think this is, oh, one, I'm her friend. She did it for me, but also, why are you choosing to actively just be so vindictive over the situation. Like, you either need to choose to forgive or to divorce her. This is not right. And you can't be on this high horse. And I'm paraphrasing, but I'm paraphrasing and adding my little, but he can't play like he on this high horse and that he's better than and he's a good guy and everything when you're deliberately doing something that, like, with the intent of hurting her. Because it's like, at the end of the day, if you're gonna divorce her, don't drag it out. Divorce her. That is ugly, that's nasty, and you don't have to do that. But if you do want to be with her, then be with her. Stop playing, learn to forgive. So he's very self-righteous. And to find out that he's doing it just because, like, oh, nobody in my family got a house. And do you know how embarrassing that is? Okay. Well, the house is gone, which is what Chanel said. She's like, okay, well, the house is gone. So you need to get over it. It is what it is. The accomplishment happened and it's over and it's done. But you need to make a decision because this is somebody else's life and feelings. And you can no longer use that excuse that you were the perfect one, you were the good one, because now you're not. You're just being extremely vindictive. So it does actually kind of, it does impact him and he does start to think about it. Over in at the prosecutor's office, we know that Chad, who is the lawyer on the case, he does ask Mike for some advice, who has went up against Jax in previous seasons. He's lost though, for the most part, but they kind of work together. They have a friendship though. And Mike just try to help him out by saying her weakness is that she believes in her clients being like human, being real, being innocent in a way. And that can be blinding because you see them as a person, and people lie. People can be manipulative. People can play you, and that's her weakness. She doesn't see it because it's kind of what happened with season one, is that she believed that CEO and he flat out lied. And so although she kind of won, she still had to eat those words and allow justice to truly prevail, because she found out that he was not who he said he was. So he was pretty much trying to help him, and then also he let him see that Alex is on the witness list, and they're like, "Oh wow, well, this should be good. Like, you getting him on the stand should work in favor." We'll get to that. So finally, we get to the day in court where Alex is on the stand, and they pretty much, Alex's story is that he and Alex got high. He got so high that Ozzy convinced him to drive him to the cabinet to go and confront Wendy. Once he got there, it was taking them longer than usual. So Alex walks to the door and sees that Ozzy is yelling at Wendy. Wendy is crying. He goes back in his car because he said he didn't want anything to do with it. Then he hears gunshots, leaves, or then Ozzy comes out, and then they leave. So, and he insists that he was scared of Ozzy. And he was scared to, because he had a business and he couldn't go to the police, which is okay. So the only evidence that he had was his toll, which he would have had paid for in order to go to the cabin. And so the prosecution thinks that this is really what it is. Like, this proves that, like, okay, this is a star witness. He's telling us that this is where Ozzy was. So Jax gets up there and asks Alex about what is your business? Because you've been getting money from Alex for years, which we just saw in a couple I said seasons, Jesus, scenes ago. So your business is drugs, because he has a record where he was caught for drugs, and it's like, oh, so you made a deal in order for this to be wiped clean if you come and testify against Ozzy. But also, okay, yeah, there's a toll, but there's no actual proof that Ozzy was with you, that Ozzy was there. So everything you're saying could just be a flat out lie, and also paints the question, why were you there? And also, Um, that Ozzy was in and out of consciousness. So how do you, like, you just said that he was in and out of consciousness because he was on drugs. So how do you know what he could do? How do you know what was going on? Like, he wasn't in the right state or frame of mind. So this don't quite make sense. And honestly, it was just it. I can understand how the prosecution didn't think and take this into consideration by having Alex come on the stand. If we know that Alex wants to have a clean record, and we then, why is there not an investigation on our end to make sure that there are no holes in Alex's testimony? Like, one, okay, he was extorting the family. You didn't think that was gonna come out? So it's very clear that, oh, you got mad because they won't pay you. So you're on this stand saying whatever story so that you can make them pay because they won't pay you money. So it sounds like your motives are already wrong and off. So now we don't really know if we can believe you for real. Then it's just hearsay. There was no photos. The only evidence you had was a poll, which doesn't quite mean anything because then it is okay, well, was he in the car? Did you just go in the area? Did you actually go to the cabin? You have no type of evidence that says you actually went to the cabin. And then you're saying that he was in and out of consciousness. So, how did he end up knowing to go to, like, it was just kind of like, how did he know to go, know what to go to the cabin, have a gun, yell and argue with her, get back in the car, all of these things, and he's out of his mind, in and out of consciousness. Come on now. So it was just like, make it make sense. It made no sense, and it was just really shocking and surprising that the prosecution did not really think about that holistically, and it was rushed. And that's one thing I will say is that, like, you got to make sure your case is tight, and Chad wasn't trying to do that. You could tell Chad, also using the situation, another user was trying to use this to advance his political career, which also does happen in these situations. And this was just a clear example, but it was severely underprepared because it's just like, how did you think this was gonna work? It makes no sense. So um it pretty much kind of kills what any idea that the prosecution had. That was their strongest point, and it she completely like, boom, blew it up. Like, no, done. So this causes Chris Chad to step down from the case, which we clearly know that he did this because he felt like he was going to lose. He was embarrassed, but also he wants to run for office. And if he loses his case, it would destroy his career more than him just backing out. That's what this is, because he wants to have a political career. So elsewhere, we go back to Sally and Chris, and he does invite his mom, Sally, to go to his mom's for Thanksgiving, saying that, it's good for the kids to keep them consistent. Again, another way of stringing her along, because why are we going to family and pretending like everything is cool when everything is not? Again, playing with her emotions and not being honest about how he feels, and just thinking that she will just go with whatever he wants her to do because she feels guilty for the decision that she made. And Sally flips it back on him and goes, "You know what? I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done." And she files for a divorce. And I think Chris in this moment was looking to have power, was looking to be the person to end it, and almost, I think, break her heart. Like, he was really being vindictive here. And she flipped the script on him. She asked for a divorce. She was no, I'm not doing these games with you anymore. Here are the papers. We're done. And he did not expect it at all. So, just goes to show you again how I said how self-righteous he really was. But I feel bad because I really just feel like, dang, if you want to be married, then just work it out. Stop playing. Like, I think we should take it a little, like, as a person who thinks marriage is important. Let's come on. Like, what are we doing? But I don't blame her, and I love how she flipped it back on him to where she's like, "I'm not playing the radio. Like, you're not gonna play me," and she deserves better in that regard. Because it's like, either you're gonna forgive her or not. Like I just said earlier, we not gonna keep doing that. So she says she got a lawyer. She said if you want to discuss anything else, contact my lawyer. So she took the advice. So Daniel, he also takes the advice from Crystal because he wanted to see, okay, I like this person. I want to get her a gift, but I don't want it to be weird. And Crystal goes, well, why won't you just do a date? Like, why are you overthinking this? And so he invites Christine over his place for a date. And but after what happens in the courtroom, and we find out that like Alex is the same guy because he's putting two and two together as he's hearing the testimony of Alex, he asked Christine about it. And she was just like, no, she didn't really want to talk about it. She didn't really, thought he would just leave her alone, that he was not harmful. But she didn't know that Alex was selling Ozzy drugs, which I don't necessarily believe because as she was talking, she wasn't even looking in Daniel's face. But Daniel takes it as face value and they end up doing the do. Um Jax is calling him at the same time and was like, hey, I think there's a hole in Monica's alibi that night of Wendy. We need to really look into her because, having that conversation with Monica clearly tells you that there is a very tight, untwisted bond that she has with Ozzy that actually might be a good person to point at in this prosecution, but also may have actually really did it. So the scene cuts to Monica um by a fire burning a shirt that has blood on it. And it's like, ooh. So did she get is she guilty? Did she do it? Which this show loves to take you on these twists and turns. So I don't know if it's necessarily that easy, but that's what we see. And he calls her and he's venting about how like he's mad at Alex on the stand and what he was doing. And so Avi's like, what do you got going on? And she's like, protecting you. And that's where she's burning this white shirt with blood on it. And so we leave on a cliffhanger, not really quite sure what's going to happen. And that is episode 5. Crazy. So much. I was literally like screaming at the TV, like, Daniel, please. Like, I'm sorry, but like this family lies. They are some liars. They are can't be trusted because again, every time he's asking her the truth or wants the truth and she lies, she kind of distracts him because she knows that he has feelings for her. And I clock it and I see it, and it's just like, Daniel, dude, like, please, I need you to wake up. Like, so it's a lot going on, but right now, it's looking pretty good for Jax. We still don't really know who killed Wendy. And by the end of this review, I'm with these both episodes, I'm gonna give my hypothesis potentially. We'll see. I don't know. Because it's still very hard to pinpoint what, which is one of the reasons why I love this show. Because yeah, like they do make you work for who did it. It's not easy. So and they take you on this roller coaster. So I thoroughly enjoy it. But we pick up in episode 6 where Ozzy is having a dream where Monica is tying up Wendy in a dark room and he wakes up and Monica is by his side, pretty much promising that she has his back. Again, a very twisted relationship. We definitely explore what that looks like in this episode and how disturbing it is and how these relationships can look. And it's not just always what we usually see or hear about, but this is it can look like this way that we see on the show. Um, so we do push to Eddie, who is, Jax's father, where he's giving a speech at his AA meeting and he invites Jax to support and they meet his sponsor, who is the same guy that Lewis saw with the gun. And when Jax leaves, Lionel warns Eddie to tell Jax the truth. Eddie claims he's not ready to break Jax's heart. So we of course know that there is a secret in the works that will be coming out. I assumed that somebody was sick like him. I was like, oh, maybe he's sick and he needs a kidney. That's pretty stereotypical. or something he's into because it doesn't explain like why he has a gun, why he's going to these random spots. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit more to Eddie. At Ozzy's house, Jax tells Ozzy that her plan is to reveal Monica's predatory history in court, and Ozzy, of course, doesn't agree to it. And Bill then questions whether that was the best thing to do, because he feels like this could get really messy. She's also a sports manager who is known to negotiate, known to speak up, and if you're not really prepared and you really can like do it in a way where you can make her look guilty, this can really be bad because they already kind of have a little bit of an edge up. But one, I think Jax wants to do this because she does feel like justice should be served and she feels bad for Ozzy. And I think that's really what's driving the most because, like I said earlier, I think she does see her son in Ozzy because her son wants to is in the music and arts, and I think she has a heart for Ozzy. And again, when we with her and Autumn, she knows that like Ozzy does look up to her as a positive influence. So I think she wants to protect Ozzy, her weakness as Chad, not Chad, but the other lawyer would say, I think is showing. But at the same time, it's like, well, it wasn't like Bill gave another suggestion on what else should who else should be brought in court. Like he didn't bring any other idea. We haven't found any other evidence of the alibi for him. And yes, it's probably at a point where yeah, we don't know if he's really gonna be considered guilty or not. We don't know. No one has been able to really like concretely prove it. So he maybe would get off on some charges, but not all. So you do have to present something that's going to really like cement that he is innocent. So I do understand why she would want to do it. Like you have to paint it to someone else, and but unfortunately it is at the expense of Ozzy where all of his business is now public. So everything about his life is up to the public, and he can't that's a scary thing to do. And then also just because now with their relationship and him now being older and an adult where there are maybe consensual moments, it messes up with his mind because he doesn't see himself as a victim and he very much is a victim. And that's how, abuse in these situations can work, where someone can, really manipulate you in a way that just feels so confusing and feels so, like it's really sick. It's just really, really sick. So later from the firm, the two lawyers, I think Stephen and Vince revealed a bill that the big secret that they were hiding is that the firm is going to be acquired by a bigger firm. So they're going to get more clients, more money, but they don't know if they want Jackson around. Yeah, which we saw coming. We absolutely saw coming. Well, she's the only black girl, so it sounds like they want to make it for a certain place for certain lawyers and ice her out, but use her recklessness against her. Um, and Bill tells him about the plan, and it just goes to show you how the good old boys do in these different systems and how. And you really could deep dive. You could really deep dive a lot more in this, in the simple fact that Bill does have a black wife, and how even someone who loves or is married to a black woman still can have racist tendencies. Because I'm gonna call it for what it is. Y'all can, you keep cute and say, "Oh, it's not. It's just discriminatory," but it's racism at its best because it just shows you that white men are gonna protect themselves no matter what, and white people, and there's no sense of loyalty or being right by someone or having integrity, because why do you need to snitch on someone who has a law degree, who is a partner, who has won cases, does win cases? Why are we questioning their competency? And that is rooted in racism and seeing black women as your biggest threat. But you say you love this black woman, your wife, the mother of your kids, but you still operate in white supremacy because this is what this is. And yeah, like period. Regardless, that's why like Just because you're with a black person doesn't mean that you're anti-racist. And it's very possible that a white person can like view that only into black individual, but not like black people. They just only like you. And that's just what it is. This is what it is with Bill. But also, we know that Bill ambition is what has cost him the most in his life because he's trying to rekindle with his wife and it goes well. It really does. And she likes it and she loves him, but she just knows that he's married to his ambitions. He prioritizes his ambitions. And no matter what, they're going to always be more important to him than his family. And so he experiences that as well at the price he's gonna pay for his career. Which at the end of the day, your career ain't gonna be the one that's gonna tuck you at bed, at night in bed, in bed at night. You gonna be home alone, but you still got partner by your name. I don't know what good that's gonna do, but okay. But hey, um, so as he's talking to the partners, Vince are like, okay, yeah, we won't tell that it was you and you said something. We'll just find a very like slick way of bringing it up to make sure that she shouldn't do that because we don't want it to be messy. Mind you, they don't really know what's going on with the case. And again, she got a lawyer degree like you. So I'm confused. I don't understand it. I really don't. But excuse me, so at home, Lewis continues to lie about his concerns with Eddie. Jack shows him a picture of Lionel, which makes, you know, Lewis even more concerned. And so of course he's gonna move forward with Daniel on his investigation. Next day at their meeting, another meeting where they are asking for updates on everyone on what's going on with the case. And they find out that we find out, like I said earlier, Chad stepped down from the case, which is I mean, I would say is a pretty good thing because if you step down, like I said, you know that you may not have it and you want to escape embarrassment. So you back out and let Mike or someone else take over the case. But Mike is a good competitor, like Mike, not a good person to go up against and her friend. So it's not necessarily that it's easier because it's kind of like the enemy you don't know versus the enemy you know. Sometimes the enemy you know does know what to do to get under your skin and then more effective strategy. But we find that out. She's giving her updates. She does tell them, like, yeah, we're gonna probably put up his manager up there. Are you sure we want to do that? It may be a hostile witness and it could ruin your chances, like, because she knows how to argue and she would be prepared. And we don't know. This could go very left. Like, so I don't know if you want to do it. And she's like, I know what I'm doing. Do you think I'm new to this? Huh? Do you think I don't think about, I don't know who I'm putting on the stand and know how to frame this and know what to do? So she's really like, okay, yeah, I'm not tripping. She calls herself confronting Bill, but he denies it. For some reason, she believes him. This is where, like, her believing men rubbing off from her mom comes into play. Cause I'm like, bro, Jax, there's no way you should have believed him. You clocked that he was a smooth, like you clocked who Bill was episode one. That he is a good old boy who likes to grandstand and, rub elbows in order to get and move up. If you know that, well, don't you think he can do it to you? Like, I don't understand why we're not. Like, you clocked him, believe it. But whatever, she believes him for some reason. Later on, Jackson Lewis they're still in therapy and they have a session and they're very anxious because Lewis's parents are coming into town who are more, like they said, like the Huxtables, whereas Jackson family is more dysfunctional and her dad is also coming. So they just feel really concerned because they just feel like something is going to happen and they're waiting for the pin to drop because they just think that, more lies, more things are going on and they just want to react before actually seeing what happens. And so the therapist just tells them to, hey, stay present, stay in the moment, stop trying to control what happens. If something happens, you deal with it, but take stuff for what it is. Stop being paranoid because then you're going to ruin it before it even happens. So the dinner is there. And we find out that Lewis's parents are separating. So the dad is moving to Florida and the mom is going to get a condo. This is all news to Lewis, and he's kind of like freaking out. The brother is there. I believe I forgot the history with the brother, but wasn't he at the party that the little that was doing the football player or something? I can't remember all the details with the brother, but he seemed to know, and this is all new to Lewis. Um, but Eddie Jackson's dad wins over the parents, because he's a musician and the brother is also a musician, and so they bond over a concert of his. And everything's going well, and Lewis is really just trying. He doesn't want to admit it, but he ultimately does realize that, like, okay, I need to calm down. I just need to allow this to happen, and if something happens, it will deal with it. So he kind of decides that he just needs to take his hands off of it and let whatever happen. So as he is ending his investigation, Daniel is starting his. And you see Daniel with someone, which we saw earlier. He followed Kristen, and Kristen went to, like, was at a diner, not a diner, but got coffee with a man, nice looking man in a suit. So it made him curious, and Daniel meets him with that guy later on at the bar. Um, which we'll get into, because first I want to go back to Bill. So Bill, like I talked about, him and his wife have a date, and it's a very nice date. And she's hoping he would change, but she's not convinced, because she's like, okay, this is nice, but like I can't continue to live my life on standby for moments like this, because I'm not going to see you again for a next couple of months. I think we need to call it. And he's distraught. But my thing is, like, Bill, if you want your marriage and you have to make a decision that your career is not everything, and the mere fact that he was like, it won't be like this because once I make partner, I don't have to work as much. And it's like, again, once you make partner, no, if your wife is tired and is ready to divorce you, that should not matter, and it's still what is number one to him. He's not getting it. So I don't feel bad for Bill. I really don't. I don't feel bad for him. You know, quite frankly, I'm kind of questioning why he's still here, but okay. It's a nice little subplot, I guess. And making the storyline, I guess, complex. Because sometimes I do think he sees Jax in his wife, like like, so where he's like kind of torn between, does he stay loyal or not to his ambitions or to black women? Maybe. We see that he's battling that. Okay, maybe. Uh So we find out that Monica does get a subpoena from Jax that she wants to be put on the stand. She is 38 hot. She's pissed and mad. And it's Ozzy's birthday though. And so Ozzy uh is kind of toying with her. Like, what do you mean it's my birthday? It's time to get lit. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, aren't you concerned? Because why are they calling me? And all I do is try to protect you. And so he's like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, did you kill her? And she's like, no. But she was like, she found a bloody sweatshirt in Ozzy's room right before the police search. So she took care of it for him. And she was actually worried that Ozzy killed Wendy. And he pretty much is like playing like, I didn't kill her. I really didn't kill her. So she's like, your acting doesn't work on me. It's very strange because it's again a moment where we get like a little bit of doubts, like, but did you, Ozzy? Are you playing with us? Are you toying? Because maybe you did. I don't know. But they both look so serious, and in the moment, it was hard to tell like who was really playing games here. But this is where I feel like Ozzy's narcissism does come out into where you really think he's like, okay, maybe you did. But his friends come. We get a guest appearance from Cordell was in this episode. He was one of Ozzy's friends. I was like, okay, I see you getting your acting back. Yes, sir. I love that for him. He deserves everything. Shout out to Cordell. And they have a party where they have dancers and only marijuana at the party because he said he's trying to stay clean, even though I don't think he is with Monica. But anyway, we then get this very weird moment where that shows the dynamic between Monica and Ozzy. I don't necessarily have to go into detail, but what I will say is it just kind of shows you how much of a control or a hold Monica has on Ozzy and how she has, manipulated him throughout the years. That Ozzy is finally kind of understanding is wrong. Um, because Monica stays at the party because she books and hires the talent and everything and makes sure people don't, take pictures, sign an NDA at the house. And yeah, they have a very weird moment. Very weird moment. But again, like I said, it shows you how twisted their relationship is and how much she's still the abuser and still very much in the situation. She's still the abuser in the situation and how control she has over him and how disturbing that is and how he is truly a victim and he's slowly learn like under fully understanding and owning that like this is not right. That's all I'll say on that scene. Um Following day, Kristen takes a stand, which is his sister. Let me tell you something. She got me. She got on my nerves. She did. I was like, Miss Girl. Why are we doing all of this? Like, it was just too much for me personally, because it's just like you doing all of that when you're trying to be on the stand to support your brother was too much. Like, and if it was what you said it was, because apparently, okay, so she sent a text to him, but she unsent it. And they were trying to say, well, why on the day of the murder, if you talk to him every day, why would you send him a text and unsend it? So clearly you wanted to hide something. Baby, they ain't talking about nothing. So why are you? Oh, I don't know. Get up. I would have been so irritated. Like, girl, it was just too much. It was too performative for me. I'm sorry. It was just too much. And especially when you're saying that it was a text sent because he had decided that he was going to cut his parents as his business, his managers and uh I guess manager, not manager, but like, oh yeah, because Monica is his agent. So she books things for him, but his managers are his parents. So she said that's all it was, but she figured she wanted to talk to him in person about it, not through text, because then it would feel like her parents had spoken to her. So she just wanted to do that. That's what she said. That's what she said it was. But my God. She just freaked out too much. It was ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous. So in the end, though, this is where Mike kind of wins because he just uses her nerves and her, you know, that in his favor to pretty much prove that she was a biased witness and that she would probably be willing to cover up anything for her brother because she just was just panicking too much. I was yeah. I was like, now Daniel, you should have been prepping her instead of hello, because she was not ready for that stand. It was absolutely crazy. Like that was the worst person you could have put on the stage. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so annoying. Okay, I'm done. As you can see, I'm really not feeling the sister because this yeah. After that, we see that Daniel is confronting Christine, and Crystal sees it and knows that, oh, you were talking about him. Dude. Oh, I forgot to mention there was a funny comedic moment between Crystal and Daniel that I thought was hilarious because like he's a bit of a nerd, but he loved him some chocolate brownie, cocoa puff, mocha latte women. Okay, Daniel is a fan. He is a fan, and so he's having like a little fun banter with Crystal about like okay, you know how to treat a woman or whatever, and like he surprises Crystal, and I'll be like, see those people you gotta watch for. That's what I've been told anyway. I don't really know. Just saying. I'm just repeating what people say. But it was funny. It was a really funny comedic moment that I think the show definitely needed so we could just laugh and breathe. So this is where things to me get real good. Real good. And I had to give Jax back her tens for this one now. So ahead of the court date, Monica is asked to go on court. As we know, she was really irritated and concerned about why she was asked to be on the stand. But Jax reaches out and pretends, and I mean plays her like a fiddle. And it's just and to me it was just kind of like, dang, Monica, you really this dense? Like you didn't catch this, but at the same time, like, because if Jax confronts you of your behavior, you have enough sense to try to flip it back on her. Then days later, she calls you to she asks you to get on the stand, and your mind doesn't say she's setting me up. Yeah, she's not right in the head. Like you actually off. Which we know you have to be because you are a predator. So, but Jax plays the heck out of her and it's like, I'm doing this because of what's best for Ozzy, and I know you actually really care about them. She just affirms Monica's feelings of Ozzy. So you really get to see how sick Monica is in the head, very twisted, very manic, like fan. Like you start to see that. And Monica's eating it up. She's like, "Oh my god, great!" Because I just love him. Like he's everything, and we need to win this for Ozzy. Like he's great, eating it up. And it's like, but you realize that what you're doing is illegal, but you're so obsessed with him in a sick, twisted way that you walked right into it. My God, I was my My God, because it was kinda like, this shouldn't have really worked. It really shouldn't have worked, but Jax, I think with her previous conversation, knew that Monica would it would work because Monica is really sick, like, really twisted, which we know she is, but it's like, she's slow too, like, I don't know. Just it just kinda had me like, "Okay, um," but it worked, but it worked. And we'll get to there. Because before we get to the stand, Jackson and Sally go meet out for drinks. She tells him that she is filed for divorce from her husband and that she is moving on. Bill comes and he's drowning because his failed relationship, his wife just said, ended. And Sally and Bill start hitting it off because, they are two lonely people. And what do the lonely do? Exactly. And Jax tries to shut it down because she's like, "Yeah, Sally, you're vulnerable. Bill, you are still married. We are not doing this. I've been there, done that. Don't do it." Well, Sally is determined to be messy, determined to just live life on the edge now, and steals Bill's number from Jackson's phone. And again, what do the lonely do? So we finally get. I just want to plug that in there because now we're at on the stand with Monica, and she is now standing as a witness. And boy, oh boy, Jazz is buttering her up, just making her feel so calm, cool, and relaxed. So she's asking her about like, oh, like what's your relationship with Ozzy? How do you feel about him? And Monica's just, he's the best thing, and we're here for Ozzy, and he's a great guy, and he's the best. I mean, she's just giving it to where you're setting it up to how disturbing it is. So then she finally lays out a text. She lays out a text. Hold on. She lays out a text. And this text pretty much says, is like, oh, you think this white hoe or something? I don't have a direct quote, but something like, you think this hoe is better than me? I'll be here before any all these other people are, itches are around. And so everyone's like, hold on, where's this going? So then she asked, "What type of relationship do you and Ozzy have?" And she's like, "We've or some." Really, she pretty much sets her up and builds it up to where she says, um, because I think Monica says, I taught him everything he knows and helped him as he grew older. And so she said, taught him everything he knows. Do you mean sexual relationship? And so you could just see it whoever's playing Ozzy, he's eating it up. Like it's actually concerning because he actually legit looks scary. Like I kind of be a little scared if I saw him in person, not gonna lie. But he played it a little bit too well, you know what I'm saying? But to see his reaction and then see his parents who are like, because before she got on the stand now, she grabbing up like this the mama. This the mama. Hold on, this the mama, this the mama. She like did all of this just I mean was really sold that hold on y'all. Got to switch because my neck. She was really sold that like this was all to help Ozzy. Like and she never in her mind thought that she would get railroaded, which is crazy. Excuse me. I was like, how okay. So then Jax pretty much forces her through the judge to be honest about the um dynamics of their relationship, and so she finally does reveal that they had a sexual relationship and it was at age 13. So the mama how like complete utter shock. Yeah. I'm sorry. If I was the mama, y'all would have had arrested me on that day because the way that I would have been swinging and you couldn't stop me. Like you wouldn't have been able to stop me at all. Like you find out in court is this lady who played in your like no. Nah. No one could not. Like no one could stop me from putting my hands on her in that day. That's just me. That's just me. That's just me. So the day wraps up. Monica still is trying to comfort Ozzy and really try to use her abuse and her like be manipulative and um try to still win him back, like still fight for him, which again, where are his parents? Because his parents, I would have been right here. And if she would have popped up swinging immediately, I was kind of lost. Like, where are his parents? How is he leaving by himself? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It was just kind of odd to me because I'm like, huh? But I think they really wanted to set up the scene to really just show the dynamic of Monica and how, like I said earlier, like how these relationships manifest themselves and they look differently. Um how abusive relationships can look because we did explore it in season 2 with gaslighting and what gaslighting really looks like versus and really giving you a like a depiction and how it happens over time and what gaslighting is to now um a predatorial abusive relationship and how that looks over time, and it's not always just cut and dry, but it's can be very convoluted, so and very like disturbing. um but this is a moment where Mon Ozzy kind of really realizes that fully accepts that like this was wrong and does find some strength. And I do think Jax being there does help him because I think in a way she is his only ally at this point, even though she's still kind of using him, if we be completely honest. But I think he believes in Jax. And I think that's what helps him give him strength to really push away from Monica and end it because That just because it's been exposed doesn't mean that it's over. That's not how abuse works. Stockholm syndrome is very real. But Ozzy is like, you're gonna regret this crossing her. She's talking like a crazed fan, like a crazed psycho. And I don't understand why she's not locked up. How does she leave and not be locked up? That's crazy. She needs to be in jail under someone's prison cell. Like I'm a little confused. I'm a little concerned. Why is she not locked up? Because it's giving she gonna pop up later, and if no one can have you, if I can't have you, no one will. Like vibes, like real talk. I'm very confused and concerned. Which is what it kind of feels like it's going, but like she should be locked up. I don't. So next episode, she should be in handcuffs, right? Okay. So after that, like we said, Lewis had decided, like, okay, I'm gonna lay off. So he leaves Daniel a voicemail, and he says, just stop. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna just let the process happen, respect her wishes. And then what, whatever. So uh while he's dropping his investigation, like I said, Daniel picks up his. He meets with the man Kristen met earlier by like playing like he's a guy in the bar, and he finds out that he's an author who was about to write a book, a tell-all book, and but his source pulled the plug. So this makes him start an investigation on what was really about to go on and what was really about to be said in this book and what happened. And it has of course he starts doing his job, and that's why I said I was a little concerned with Daniel, but Daniel trusts his instinct. Even with his relationships, even how he feels, he trusts some things that don't sound right or look good. And I was like, okay, thank God, Daniel, that you're actually going to investigate, because this is going to be so important if you're finding something that can help or hurt the case. So he's very good at what he does, and I was like, thank God Daniel trusts his instinct and knows that, like, okay, I can like Kristen, but like she's also a liar. she's also she's also gonna protect her brother at the end of the day. So he does more digging, and which I kind of didn't understand this part, but I think he's discovering that Alex was going to do a tell-all book on Ozzy and Ozzy's family. And we do see Daniel try to call Alex, which is like, you think he was going to pick up? I'm a little bit confused by that, which is why I was a little like, huh? But we do see that Alex does have a USB drive hidden, and there is a picture or video of Wendy that is being shown with a I think with the white shirt, and I could be wrong, but it seemed like it was the white shirt. So you don't know where that's going or what Alex is planning with this information, and kind of confused on what Alex is what he really wants to do, because it was like, yeah, it didn't work in the courtroom. So is the book your second plan to again get money and extort? I don't know. Yeah, Alex is, but we know a lot. Like, I feel like there's a lot of Alexes, right? Yeah. So that I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on with that. But across town, like I said, what do the lonely do? Bill and Sally hooked up. And we get back to Daniel, where Daniel, who has a friend and was telling Eddie, does, even though respected Jax's wishes, does say find out information about Eddie, and was like, hey, I feel like you should know this. So Jax calls over Eddie to confront him, and tells him like, I know why you're really here. And he was like, oh, I wanted to wait till I tell you, Lou. I don't know if that was kind of like a distraction, which I mean, like, I think it's legit, but like, I what else? I feel like Daniel found out something else. I really feel like Daniel found out something else, but Lewis let it go, because once he said Lou, we then come to find out that Jackson's mother Lou has cancer. And this, of course, news takes Jax by surprise, and we're left with that ending episode 6. So I still don't feel like that is the secret with Eddie. I feel like there's more to the story because it doesn't explain your sponsor holding a gun and maybe he's trying to find money to pay for it. I don't know, but there's a little bit more to that because yeah, I just feel like there's a little bit more because Jack didn't know about Lou. He was like, Lou, what about Lou? So clearly he found something else. So I really want to know what's gonna happen with that. I also want to know what Alex is up to. And okay, predictions on who do we think actually unalived Whitney. I feel like Monica is very easy. I actually don't think she did it. I actually think that she may be a future danger because she needs to be arrested. Like, what are we doing? Like, I feel like she's very much gonna like um come back and retaliate. Alex may have something to do with it, but maybe it was the parents. I don't know, but I also feel like that's so predictable too. Maybe it was the parents that they orchestrated something and Alex knows about it or is involved, but I really feel like isn't there another sister that we really aren't seeing on the show? Because we have Kristen, but who's the isn't there another girl? There's another girl that we haven't really been exploring or talking about if I'm remembering correctly. Next episode I'm gonna look out for her, but maybe she had something to do with it. Was it the auntie or there's someone else? Could be her because we have completely not heard, gotten anything from that other person. And I could be making it up, but I don't really think I am. I don't know. But I feel like it's someone that we have had zero attention on whatsoever. I feel like the parents is too easy unless they orchestrated it, but I really don't think it was them. I think that's too obvious. I thought that there was another sister or another person. I could be wrong. I'm looking at it now. Um, but I feel like it could be them. I definitely think we're gonna be surprised. I do think Alex has some pretty, good things that are gonna reveal some secrets about Wendy. Because why does he have a video of Wendy? Um, so I look forward to seeing what that is gonna be. But that's my prediction. I'm looking up right now. Who is Ozzy's family? I'm looking up because I really want to see, isn't there another sister in his agent, Monica? Okay. I feel like there's another sibling. Let's see. Mhm. Okay. So no, it's only showing Kristen. I thought there was one other individual that we not hearing from that's not Monica. But maybe I'm mistaken. I might be mistaken. But anyway, so if that's the case, if it's not, ooh, it could be Kristen, but because I just think it's somebody who's completely unexpected. I don't know. Y'all tell me y'all thoughts. Who y'all think it is? Because I feel like this is very hard, and this is where the show really wins. Like because who you think it is not who it is. Like they do a good job of um steering you in different directions on who potentially is guilty until the very last moment. So it's so hard to predict it. And maybe I'll have a clear idea on the other episode, but y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. Also, make sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel. That was a recap of episode 5 and 6. We will be back with episodes 7 and 8. And then 9 is the last episode, so we'll do that one by itself. But we'll be back with those 2 episodes to talk about that next week. I'm super excited. Oh my god. But Thank you guys for watching. I know it's a little late, but thank you guys for watching and catch you next time.